It's time to do some spring cleaning. So consider this message as a baptism with extra soapy Easter bubble eggs produced by Cavetronics Dimensional Art, meant to clean out people's ears. Welcome to Egg-Gnosis Part 2, From Darkness to the Light, wherein Melissa R Cody-Prater narrates and discusses religious ideas which act as barriers to humanity's progress, explained through examples of game theory and intersectionality. In game theory, there is an experiment called the sidewalk shuffle, which determines the probability of the movements of two people walking towards each other on a sidewalk as they pass by to avoid hitting each other. If you are an American, you are used to driving on the right, and you may naturally tend to take the right side to go around the person. But if the other person is from England and decides to go to their left when you go right, a collision occurs. Just like cars at an intersection, in computing, when multiple processes are ongoing, some processes may require more memory than available, which puts it into a hold and wait state to avoid collision or computer crash. As a computer programmer, there are methods to correct such issues, such as round robin scheduling, whereby a task is done in small portions and placed back into the queue until it is fully complete, much like getting served at a restaurant and having to wait on both the food to be prepared and for the waitress to have the time to bring it to your table. In a similar manner, society has been in a state of waiting to progress, as if we are all sitting at the table waiting to be served. Sure, people go about their daily lives and doing what they must to live, yet many are stuck in their thinking while waiting on ascension to happen. Others are stuck waiting on the apocalypse and counting the days. Others are preparing for war, but most people are too absorbed into their busy lives to watch videos like this. So if you understand this problem, feel free to pass around this soap to help loosen up the dirt of bad thinking habits. The task at hand is much like clearing a roadway one car at a time, if necessary, until the congestive problem is removed or resolved. And humanity must move forward and do so quickly, which requires all hands on deck, so to speak. In a novel that I have been working on off to the side mostly, I explain how humanity is going through the grinder, as I call it in the book. The grinder is like the location or line of dimensional exchanges of pattern, medium, color, and inversions, which can be seen through Cavetronics dimensional art, wherein the dimensional changes visually describe a universal process of splitting. In logic systems, this is expressed as the binary variable referred to by the term Boolean, which means true or false in computer programming, but it can be extended to translate into day or night, right or left, or any bipolar variable. The news, media, pulpits, legal, and education systems define the division for society's categories, some of which you would think we could agree on the reality of, such as the weather, or in this case, the climate and energy. But those matters are obscured by bigger social divisions created to divide people through law, religious ideas, and politics, which are then applied to other important matters like technology. So that puts everything that matters in our world to be transformed into a political battleground, and it creates a stalemate or hold and wait state that stops humanity's true progress forward. As I have spoken of before in videos titled Architectural Over Unity Artistic Concepts and in Part 1, Egg-Gnosis Flaming Easter Eggs from Hell, there is a mixture process seen in the movements of over unity throughout the cosmos. But to bring matters home and to talk about society at hand, the mixture process is similar to what is referred to as intersectionality, which is a place where things are blended before they are then separated and reordered into new placements. For many people, these may seem like dark times. Yet light shows up well on a black background, just like the stars on the night sky. So the abstraction or bifurcation is useful to some while confusing to others. It reminds me of when my cat ran outside and got lost for a while. I called and called for her during the daytime, but the town noise drowned out my voice. So I had to wait until it was dark when the people were asleep and quiet in order to call her again so she could hear me and come running to my direction, which worked. In a similar abstract way, I hope you can hear my clear words on top of the social media background full of bizarre confusion. Just like how a good signal can carry a message a long distance while a bad signal is corrupted, I hope the following message comes through loud and clear to all. The Republican Party that brought us trickle-down economics and austerity has driven many of us into desperate poverty and sickness, and that is why we voted for Bernie Sanders. I do not care about your terms of Marxism, communism, socialism, whateverism, and I will not play your games of semantics while we, the real people of America, are hanging on by our broken fingernails. Trump did not win just because HRC was so unpopular. He won because of people like me that helped break up the Democrat Party in order to bring in some new independent hope for us at the bottom. Yes, we have been misnamed as bottom feeders, and although we may be out of work engineers, we are often lumped together with anyone who does not go to church on Sunday. Yet many of you would want to loop us back into the same cycle that would surely kill many of us who have nothing left to lose. Of which problem is what brought us all here to this crossroads of intersectionality so that we together can decide a way forward for all of us, not just a few people. If Republicans decide to perform a loop back and double down on austerity measures, we the people will not survive it. This is why independents like myself and tens of millions more overtook the Democrat Party in order to try to save ourselves and our country. But neither the conservative or liberal media will mention this fact, so I am bringing it to the light and to your attention for you to consider heartedly. Even in my suffering, I must be artful, creative, tactful, and not too wordy, because I have learned from experience that my words and emotions are not enough to be heard in this world that demands entertainment while waiting on their couches for a Messiah. Too many people are waiting on a Messiah or aliens to come pick them up, while others would readily accept a politician or celebrity as a Messiah just to get on with the show. For these reasons, I am adding extra soapy Easter bubble eggs so that those people can become unglued. In repreaching the New Testament to Christians, Jesus rose again, and witnesses bore testimony to it. And your scriptures tell you that the only way through the Father is through the Son. Therefore, just like how Enoch walked with God, if you were waiting on the Messiah, then you aren't doing something right, in my opinion, which was determined through my experiences and interpretations of scriptures. God speaks to people through the small, still voice like Elijah experienced in 1 Kings chapter 9, verses 11 through 13. Many years ago, I listened as a rabbi helped to comfort and guide people after a great tragedy had taken the lives of many. He used the story about Elijah who weathered out a storm, an earthquake, and a fire while waiting for God to speak to him on a mountain. But it was only after all those horrible things had occurred that Elijah heard God's small, still voice ask him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" The rabbi explained that God was not in the storm, the earthquake, or the fire, but rather God is in our answer, our reply, our response to the problems before us. That's why God asked Elijah, "What are you doing here?" Because Elijah was simply waiting when it was time to act. So this is a call to action for those who are ready to act towards correcting our world at hand. This is the place where many of us out of work and too sick to work engineers have been for decades. Instead of focusing on the storms on TV, we have set our minds and skills to creating real solutions for sustainability, of which phraseology may seem generic and overused on the media, but we use those words as accurate descriptions of our technology and concepts rather than metaphoric rhetoric. When we are in the waiting position, we are focused on the storm around us. For example, many people may be lost without police, lost without a president, lost without preacher or otherwise. Yet consider the fact that this country has gone over 2 years without a president and survived this far without proper leadership. Obviously, we don't want to kill each other. So who is the real enemy? I think that we can do great work together, but there are psychological blockages that have been programmed into religious dogma and blended into twisted politics that are acting as obstacles to humanity's progress. And in this problematic area, we must find common ground, which is why I emphasize this verse from Philippians 4:8 that tells us to focus on the things that are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, virtuous, praiseworthy, and of a good report. Many of you have heard the Q community discuss the phrase from darkness to light, which I also think is an appropriate description of what humanity is going through now. And due to the three-card Monty shuffle that the powers that be did to internet communications, many of us lost touch with our online friends. So I would like to take this time to shout out to my personal friend and fellow Kabbalist, Arthur Sherman, wherever you may be these days. Contact me if you happen to see this. I am listening intently for an echo. And it gets harder and harder to hear such a thing within the overlord media machine. And as a Kabbalist, I would like to mention to people who may have missed the Messiah to look within, just like the fourth man in the fiery furnace with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The small, still voice is available to those that listen and obey it. That does not require a church, but rather a willing participant in goodness for all. And to add to this, all paths lead through mercy and righteousness to God. As a student of the Sephiroth, I could tell you from my experience as I live and breathe each day that God is our right hand and He will deliver us from the evil of this world when we work together. To be very clear, this is an urgent message, and it addresses severe, chronic, and currently dire issues that affect our daily lives. I would never have made it this far in life without the light of this message within me, carrying me through these decades of darkness. So I surely hope there is an ear or two that can hear and break through this media veil to the great beyond and respond clearly. For there are many of us independents who seek refuge among those who also hold lovely virtues in our hearts, minds, and deeds. And we could join forces and be mighty together. Do you agree? Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Who Humanitarian Software 208.